businesses can't adopt digital assets fully if they can't keep and maintain their existing business process. Think about what stablecoins bring to businesses. They bring the ability to make money programmable.
Crypto native companies use digital assets, crypto rails, or stable coins for all, and if not all, at least most of their transactions, both internally, externally, and they're very conversant with that. It brings in a lot of efficiency. However, non-crypto native companies, the business ecosystem has tremendous use case and utility for moving over to crypto rails for many of their transactions. For example, cross-border payments, managing AR or accounts payables, and even for treasury management. I'm speaking with Amy, the co-founder of Bitwave, one of the largest crypto accounting companies which helps crypto companies manage their accounts and bridge them to TradFi accounting systems. But they're also helping with their new payment system about enabling non-native business ecosystems adopt digital assets for their business processes. I'm Sri Misra, your host for Alpha Unhashed. Hello, Amy. Welcome to Alpha Unhashed.
Hi, thank you so much for having me today.
Amy, Bitwave is a is an accounting compliance company that helps mostly enterprise grade crypto companies, right? So, can you tell me a
Yeah.
little bit more about Bitwave and how you guys are different from the competition?
Sure, happy to. Bitwave, we are the leading digital asset finance and payment management software. And what we mean by that is we're really a tool for enterprise finance, accounting, accounts payable, accounts receivable teams to be able to do all the work they have to do when they're interacting with crypto and digital assets while still maintaining proper books of record and keeping up with compliance programs. We really sit in between all the businesses' sources of digital asset data, whether it's custodial accounts, their wallets, hot wallets, cold wallets, self managed custody wallets, and then traditional finance systems. So think like ERP solutions or treasury solutions or even vendor management and bill pay solutions. And Bitwave, we sit in the middle and give the tools, the workflows, all the capabilities that you need to run a business. We feel strongly that businesses can't adopt digital assets fully if they can't keep and maintain their existing business process. Those things are really important for tracking and compliance and accounting reasons. And so having a full platform that really both integrates with the world of blockchain, Web3, stablecoins, and your existing financial solutions is really, really important. We were built for enterprises from day one.
Mhm. Okay, that's interesting. And we'll come back to sort of what makes you specifically different in the space. But before that, you mentioned one point about helping.
I was gonna say, it's really one thing that's super unique about Bitwave is the volume of digital asset transactions that our system can handle. Most of the other companies out there are really meant for SMBs, for people with smaller volumes of transactions on the blockchain. Bitwave, some of our customers run literally billions of transactions through our software, billions of accountable events every single month. We work with the largest foundations, the blockchain foundations, their largest crypto exchanges in the world, and they use our software to keep their books and records. And the other piece is our Bitwave vendor network, which is a whole platform. It's a payment network. So I don't know if you're familiar with something like a bill.com, where you have invoices and you connect with vendors and you're able to pay and send out remittances. Bitwave has a full solution for ARAP, so accounts payable and accounts receivable, when you're doing blockchain and stablecoin payments. And that's truly a unique thing in the industry.
Right. Okay. No, in fact, that's what I want to ask you about. So you mentioned about the platform sort of enabling businesses to adopt digital assets, and so in some sense, you're not only talking about large crypto enterprises who use Bitwave for their accounting, compliance, all of that stuff, which then talks to the sort of traditional accounting systems or ERPs, and sort of
Yeah,
that's how it kind of it addresses all the audit accounting side in that sense. But on the other
yes,
hand, you're talking are you talking about non-crypto companies adopting digital assets for certain aspects? So can you dig into that? Why would
yeah,
a non-crypto company, a business, want to adopt digital assets, and where do you guys come in? But the first part, let's focus on the first part in depth.
absolutely.
Mhm.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, a great use case for why businesses of any type would want to adopt digital asset is stablecoin payments. If you think about how businesses are doing B2B payments, especially cross-border payments today, is very costly. Sometimes fees for international wires or even individuals who send money overseas, the fees can be really, really high. It can take 2, 3, 4 days. Oftentimes, for the only reason it's taking that long is the company that is the rails wants to hold the funds so that they can get afloat. Bill.com, if you look in their public filings, a huge percentage of the revenue actually just comes from fees and floats that when they're holding money before they remit it to who you want the payment to go to.
Mm.
And so, any business, whether you're in digital assets or not, can see both time and cost savings by using blockchain payments, especially stablecoins. We're really big fans of stablecoin payments for the B2B use case. They can see efficiencies. It settles immediately. It's much lower fees. Often the blended bips on a payment on stablecoin rails is significantly lower than traditional payment rail options. And the way Bitwave, to answer your second question, helps enable it is we have a whole platform for where maybe both parties don't want stablecoins. Maybe you want to pay in stablecoins because it's cheaper, faster, and better for you, but the vendor you're paying maybe is not quite ready to accept stablecoins. We have a solution that helps with that. So they can still use the Bitwave vendor network, get connected with who is going to pay them. You, the payer, can upload the invoice, use the same workflow that you're used to think of a bill payment management system. You're probably going to have a
Mm.
PO number. You're going to have a series of approvers. You're going to mark which expense account this particular payment is going towards. And then you can send it in stablecoins, and your vendor can have it set up where they receive fiat. So, and then hopefully, maybe after they are a little bit more familiar, maybe they won't pick the fiat option anymore. Maybe they'll adopt stable coins too.
Okay, all right. So that's a great use case. So, and is it very specifically about cross-border payments, or do you think there is an application for within a jurisdiction or a country as well?
I absolutely do, because the speed of blockchain payments, that can be really, really great benefit, even if you're in the same jurisdiction. I think you see the most cost savings when you're going cross border. But cross border payments, if you think about a complex supply chain or any multinational company, has a lot of payments back and forth. So cross border can really save enterprises a lot. But even if you're still just doing
Still.
domestic payments, the
Mm.
settlement time can be faster with blockchain. I mean, it's instantaneous if you want it.
Right. Okay. Yes, of course. We're all kind of absolutely sold on what a distributed technology like blockchain can do in terms of not just payments and settlements, but much wider areas and like decentralized asset management, which is the space that I'm in, for example. Totally with you in terms of payments and
Yeah.
how businesses can adopt stable coins, especially for settling not just cross border, but managing it more efficiently within as well. Now,
You could also set up things like streaming payments as well. You could set a
yeah.
smart contract at the beginning, pre-fund it,
Mhm.
and then every month have that smart contract automatically remit payments. So
Mm,
there's a lot of really creative and
mm.
new ways. If you think about what stablecoins bring to businesses, they bring the ability to make money programmable. And really, it's a lot of exciting use cases. One thing I love about working in this space is that there's always something new. There's always someone applying blockchain and stablecoin and new technologies, and it's part of what keeps Bitwave so exciting for me is our customers are always adopting the latest thing, the newest idea, whether it's DeFi or you name it. And then we are able to, our system is so robust that we're able to help them keep track of all of those things.
Okay, all right. So let's delve into sort of stable coins. They obviously have is one product within crypto which has found product market fit and in multiple ways right now. So whi- which which stable coins do you usually use on your platform, and what's the kind of say monthly volumes or number of settlements that you guys do?
Yeah. We try to be as, platform agnostic as we possibly can and support all the different blockchains and coins, tokens, stable coins that our customers ask us to. Certainly some are more widely used on the Bitwave platform. USDC, for example, makes up a big percentage of what people are using, but it's certainly not the only one. We see people paying in all different types of coins, and we're really proud to support such a wide range of different blockchains, tokens, and stable coins. As far as payment volume, we passed over 100 million in total payment volume, both in and out. So people invoicing out and receiving stablecoin payments have been accounted through. And then as far as accountable events for the total, so that's just using our specific vendor invoicing ARAP modules that we have in Bitwave. As far as the total volume of accountable events and transactions that have been tracked through Bitwave, I mean, gosh, I've lost track of the number. It's so huge,
Right,
like
and are most
beyond
of
billions,
your
probably in the trillions at this point, since we've been around since 2018, and we have individual customers who are doing like 30 billion transactions on our platform a year.
right, and those are largely in the areas of AR and AP, accounts receivables and payables.
Those are any type of transactions.
Okay.
With Bitweave, you can account for all different types of things. So in just our payments modules, it's about 100 million in total volume.
Staying with um, stable coins, what do you think are the other areas that will find more adoption in in the non-crypto in sort of the business ecosystem as such, and leave aside crypto companies, there's a clear application, so there's nothing to kind of really dig deeper in there, but for not again for businesses, we what are the newer areas that could emerge with stable coins?
Well, I think that yield-bearing stablecoins are super interesting. I mean, right now with stablecoins and a custodial account, you basically have a business checking account. So you can function like that. But then if you add in something like a yield-bearing stablecoin, where you're getting part of the profit that the company who's providing the stablecoins is getting from holding their T-bills or however they're funding it. I think
Mhm.
that's super interesting because then it becomes like any sort of yield bearing instrument that we have and can replace other more secure, less risky type investments. So I find that super interesting. I haven't seen any really picking off. Some of the existing providers are starting to look at rewards and things like that on holding stable coins. Certainly, once you have stable coins or other digital assets, I think it's a natural progression to then want to get into things like staking if you're trying to seek out that yield.
Right. No, so definitely then, treasury management for companies is a big space that stable, especially yield bearing stable coins can can loop into, where companies can actually manage small and large treasuries directly on chain with yield bearing stablecoins. Um, and are you seeing any of your sort of again non crypto businesses doing that already?
Most of the customers who are using Bitwave and take for treasury management and our treasury management module are the larger crypto native companies. I haven't quite seen that. I think it's a nascent space, but it's something that's exciting to keep an eye on.
Right. Yeah. And no, it's a huge space. In fact, even at Arna Protocol, we recently launched a dual yield stablecoin optimization vault, and we're
Oh,
seeing
oh,
yeah, well, we're seeing significant interest in that. But yeah, from the non-crypto side as well. But yeah, folks have to kind of get used to all of this and be comfortable. So I clearly see the opportunity of treasury management and yield bearing stable coins as important, but sort of staying with that, and specifically, I mean, the yield on stable coins can be generated in multiple ways, right? It can be crypto native in terms of lending, staking, or a specific use case in terms of maybe speculation on the yield and stuff like that, or it can be backed by RWAs in that sense, and generating yield from there. You spoke of T-bills, for example. Now, I'm kind of switching the conversation into your compliance side, into the accounting side, and more for RWA protocols in DeFi, for example, where there are multiple, so there is an off-chain asset which has to be mapped to some kind of SPV, which has to mirror the value on chain, in a structured in a RWA contract or a vault, and then the sort of tokens are issued from there. How do you manage the sort of compliance accounting side of RWAs specifically, and what are the sort of challenges there? What are the current gaps there?
yeah, absolutely. Well, in Bitwave, we have what we call Bitwave Institutional, and it's a specific part of our product that is just focused on institutional reconciliation. So, if you're an enterprise and you have RWAs or really any sort of for benefit of accounts that you're maybe custodying on behalf of a customer, anything that you need to do a double check for, Bitwave has a whole platform for doing that. Blockchain reconciliation and documentation to allow you as a compliance team to do that double check that is super important to verify what your internal records are showing against what the blockchain is recording and making sure that those things are in sync. So that works
That's
great
for
for
a
things like
company. I'm asking.
RWAs.
Okay, what about for a RWA issuer, an RWA protocol who issues the RWA product and tokens? How do you? Is there a way? For example, if at Arna protocol, I wanted to structure an RWA vault, but now I wanted to sort of have a compliance report which kind of certifies everything across that RWA stack, and be able to present that to an institution. Suppose, can you talk through that? How do you guys help DeFi protocols which are doing RWA stuff? Because in several of the discussions panels, or or whatever, nowadays I see RWA conversations everywhere, but there are actually certain off-chain risks there, which I don't know if everybody's thinking through. So how do you really plug that?
Yeah, so we take uh, we would be part of the blockchain part of that. So everything that you're doing, you have this RWA company that in your example, that's all on the blockchain. And it seems like it would be easy to do blockchain type accounting, but it's really not. The accounting for blockchain transactions often don't function like other accountable events. They tend to function maybe like inventory accounting or forex accounting, and like they're kind of a combination of both. There's specific guidance on that. So when you're talking about an RWA who's issuing things on the blockchain, we would take care of those blockchain accounting pieces. So what is being spent on gas fees, for example, you can mark that as expenses in Bitwave very easily, and you're doing that probably millions and millions of times if you're issuing a large volume of RWAs. So we take care of the blockchain piece. We don't do any sort of fiat accounting. So when you say the real world part, that seems like that's getting into maybe some more of the realms of fiat accounting. But we focus just on the blockchain transactions and ensuring that you have a system of record for the accounting work that's done to keep track of the transactions that are being executed on behalf of your company, whether they're incoming, outgoing, your developers are testing, you're issuing RWAs. All of those things end up being accountable events or taxable events potentially, depending on the nature of them. And Bitwave, since we're bringing in all of that transactional blockchain information into our platform and creating the pegging the fair market value, for example, of what was spent on gas fees at the time of event to that transaction in Bitwave, and keeping it in our subledger, you're able to have that record. Then down the line, when maybe a year from now you're being audited, you have all that information
Right. Okay. No,
in
that's
in
obviously
a format that your
yeah,
auditors are familiar with.
familiar with. Yeah. But what happens? So because your systems talk to conventional accounting and ERP systems,
Yeah,
so
yeah,
the
yeah.
the
Like
reflection.
NetSuite, QuickBooks.
Is there a way for you, since your system is talking to the a company's off-chain system as well, accounting system? So if they are um, holding on to RWA assets on their books through a different custodian, for example, so there is a reflection of it, right, on their balance sheet as well. So now the same thing when is getting reflected on chain now in a vault, or a structured product which is issuing the RW tokens. So, is there anything there, just in terms of a reporting format, which just states that here's how this particular RWA product is reflected off chain as well?
Well, in your example, if the company is holding the information on the assets, the real world assets that they have in their ERP solution, we would sync that information into Bitwave because we bring in the full chart of accounts from your ERP into Bitwave and could be able, if you wanted, using our rules engine, to match that information with the transactional information that you're
Right.
bringing in from the blockchain in Bitwave. So yeah, certainly if you're storing that in your ERP solution, your Oracle Cloud database, we'll bring that information in and give you the tools to map those transactions. So saying we've relieved this one item and this is how we did it on the blockchain if it's in your ERP. I personally, I'll be honest, I haven't seen people doing it that way, but in your example, that would certainly work.
So, as this scales up, do you think is that something that it's a dimension where things will head, or what are your views on that?
I think RWAs are really interesting. You said, earlier, stable coins are really what has seemed to found its key killer use case with non-digital asset native companies. I haven't seen RWAs really hit that moment yet. I still think there's a lot of potential for RWAs, but the adoption of RWAs has not been as fast as the adoption I've seen with stable coins. So I think it's still a bit of a wait and see. A lot of potential there. I think the technology is great. I think, especially when you're talking about being able to like fractionalize ownership in real world items, blockchain is great for that kind of use case. But like I said, I haven't seen the adoption with RWAs quite yet.
Right. Okay. Um, we spoke about going back to stable coins and more crypto native use cases when we look at take liquid staking, restaking, derivatives, and stuff like that. structured products. What do you think will enable enterprise DeFi adoption? Move it to the shift gears on that.
Well, enterprises have a lot of yield-bearing options, and they have a lot of financial tools at their disposal. They can issue shares. They can do a lot of things. I actually think we'll see DeFi adoption more at the SMB level, personally, than at the enterprise level, at least first, because I think SMBs and smaller businesses don't have as many options and financial tools at their disposal, and that's where something like DeFi can come in and be an appealing alternative.
Okay, no, that's a very interesting point. And do you handle SMB clients as well? Is there something that you're seeing? Hmm?
Yeah, we do see SMB clients as well. Our primary focus is serving large enterprises, and because when we really excel and our platform stands out is people who have complex accounting and high volume of accountable events, or who want to take advantage of our Bitwave vendor network and payments platform, our ARAP module that we have
Hmm.
in Bitwave. But those are all things that SMBs can use as well. And so we do see some SMB type clients.
Okay, all right. I understand, Amy, you come yourself from a SaaS B2B background. Tell me, how did you move from there to crypto? And any specific sort of insights in terms of why you guys founded Bitwave, for example, from SaaS B2B to there.
Right. So my background has been in SaaS, B2B, and enterprise software for a long time. My co-founder and I, we actually had a previous startup that we did together with two other co-founders at that company. We ran that from 2013 to 2016. It was in the enterprise SaaS software space. And eventually that company was acquired by Cisco. But even back then, in 2013, my co-founder at that company and this one, Pat, he was very into Bitcoin. Already he was mining Bitcoin on actually a server that he put under we worked out of a co-working space for that startup, and the electricity was included in our rent. And so he brought a Bitcoin miner and had it under our desk. And I was like, what is this? Learned all about digital assets. I thought that I thought blockchain technology had a lot of broad applications. I thought that cryptocurrencies were a killer application of blockchain technology. I thought that the all the stuff that was going on in the space was really, really exciting. So personally, I was interested in digital assets. Like I mentioned, we ran that company until 2016 when we were acquired by Cisco. Worked at Cisco for a while. And then in 2018, my co-founder and I, we kind of asked ourselves, at this point, 2018, individuals were into digital assets. There was a lot of people who were into crypto at that point. And we knew that if retail users and individuals were into digital assets, eventually businesses would adopt digital asset technology as well. First, as crypto native companies and companies who are serving the individuals and retail market, but then eventually, more broadly, all businesses could take advantage of the efficiencies of blockchain. And so we asked ourselves, when a company adopts digital assets, what are they going to need? Because my personal philosophy on startups is that you have to be solving a real need, a need that customers have. And so we asked ourselves, what will businesses need when they start transacting in digital assets? And we actually made a long list of things. And that's why we describe Bitwave as a platform. And our motto is enabling digital assets for enterprises, because top of the list happened to be accounting and finance, tax tracking, and payments. But we actually have a long list and are working on lots of other things. And so we started with accounting because day one, no CFO is going to allow you, whatever team within his enterprise or her enterprise, to interact with digital assets if they can't keep track of it, because digital assets are like money. You can't have money moving in and out of a business that's not accounted for. You can't have revenue in digital assets that you don't track and pay taxes on. And certainly you can't pay a bill or send a remittance, pay an employee if you don't have a project number, if you don't have approval, if you don't have a budget and an expense account set up. And we knew that this almost none of our customers, a handful, but almost none of our customers are entirely digital asset denominated. Everybody is going to keep their books and their main financial statements in fiat currency, US dollar or their local fiat currency that they're denominated in. And so we knew that to enable digital assets, we would have to connect with existing systems. So high up on that list of what businesses would need when they adopt digital assets was integrations with existing software solutions. And so, really, Bitwave was founded to bring together my experience and passion for enterprise software, my background and skill set in enterprise software, and my interest and excitement around digital assets and blockchain. And like we've been doing this since about 2018. So, gosh, that's almost 7 years now. It's great. We've grown. We are a totally remote work from home first company, which is really exciting. We have folks in the US, but then also abroad. And it's been just an amazing journey to see how Bitwave has scaled and how the industry as a whole has scaled. I personally love working in the digital asset and Web3 and blockchain space. I think it's super exciting. Like I mentioned earlier, our customers are always adopting the latest and greatest in the space, and definitely we strive to always meet their requests and demands. So I get to see the cutting edge all the time, and I just find this space to be exciting. Friendly, welcoming, the expression, tides raise all boats.
Mm,
That's certainly how I feel in the space. People are super collaborative. We have
mm,
lots of partnerships, both with
mm.
existing, financial software solutions, but then all of the different blockchains and new protocols, stablecoin rails providers, you name it. We are all about partnering and interacting with the ecosystem as a whole, because really where we are as a reporting layer on top of what people are doing in the space. And so we want to enable everyone to do whatever it is in their space, like keep those proper books and records, keep track of their digital asset transactions, be
Right.
able to
No, I
interact
think
in
you guys have certainly
the
been, you guys certainly have been early, sort of 2018 with accounting software for on-chain transactions. That's something, that's 7 years is sort of just slightly less than half the crypto life as such. So that's fantastic. And you mentioned fully remote, and I know just prior to our getting started on the podcast, when we were having a chat, you mentioned you're in the wonderful land of Tahoe. So I guess right. So have you guys always been remote from the beginning, or was that something which got induced by COVID?
Yeah, you're spot on. You guessed it. We did so much growing during the pandemic that it didn't make sense to only hire folks who were Bay Area based. So we, before the pandemic, had a smaller team back then, and did have a co-working space in San Francisco, a different one that I used to work out of, one that was in FIDE. And we would meet, and it was great. But
Mm.
then the pandemic happened, and we did our growth at that point was just explosive. We did so much hiring, um, that it did make sense to have everyone be Bay Area based, but then never interact or see with each other. And honestly, it was great. It was such a great decision. We've been so happy that we're a remote work from home company, because we've been able to get team members from all over, find the best. I'm so proud of the team that we've built here at
And how
Bitwave.
many of you?
Really,
How large is
really,
the team now?
yeah, we're about 50 people.
Okay, and most of them are in the US, or all over.
Yeah, a majority in the US, but we have folks in Canada, we have folks in Europe, India. Really have a broad team spread out and a very, Slack heavy culture. We do stand ups, we do lots of team meetings and webinars and all hands because I do think it has to be a, conscious effort to keep everyone engaged and feeling like a team. And then we've done a few all hands in person, all team, all company meetings. We've had individual teams get together for remote offsites where they get to meet in person. So I do think you have to strike that balance. But it's been great for Bitwave and our growth and for us to be able to get the best talent regardless of location.
Okay, all right, that sounds awesome. How do you manage your sort of the workflow and teams and the sort of monitoring progress and stuff like that? If you want to share for some of the audience who are young founders and are building completely remote first right from day one, do you want to share some of those workflow experiences and stuff, and any tools,
Yeah.
platforms that you guys use?
Yeah, absolutely. So different teams, we let different teams work how they want. Obviously our engineers are using all the typical Jira, Confluence, the collaborative software tools that they use to do programming. We try to have all the teams do a stand up every morning. So a quick 10-15 minute stand up per team. So everyone has to check in and can report on what they're doing, ask questions, have a chance to interact. I do like skip levels. So I'm COO, but I'll still do one-on-ones with various different team members to check in and really hear firsthand details of what they're working on. So staying pretty engaged and involved. We use Slack, like I mentioned. Um, you know, Everyone's on Google Docs these days to do
Mm.
collaborative work. But I think it takes you have to find the right kind of team and the right kind of employees. I mean, it's something I ask in interview questions. Like, do you like working from home? Do you thrive in a work from home environment? Because a lot of people really do. They actually prefer it. They prefer the work life balance. They prefer not having a commute time. They prefer the quiet. I actually know folks that I used to work with when I worked in an open office, open floor plan kind of
Mm.
space found it very distracting. They found the noise and the constant, chit chat between coworkers
Mm.
hard to get their work done. And having, space you can create in your own home as an office that's quiet and set up exactly how you like some people really thrive in that. And so I think finding the right employees who that's a benefit and they don't want to go in the office sets you up for success if you're a founder. So I would use that as an interview question. Like I mentioned, I do that. And then just having programs and active things in place, like daily meetings, like offsite all hands, and connecting with folks in person, having good project management tools, whichever ones you want. Different teams use different ones here at Bitwave, and keeping track of metrics. That's a good habit for all startups, but it's certainly something that's super important if you're all remote.
Okay, all right. And what's your sort of people management system, performance management system like? Do you use OKRs and stuff, or it's more?
Yeah, so we use a tool called Lattice actually that has things built in for where you managers can have meetings and we can track performance, we do reviews, things like that. So I found Lattice to be a super easy to use.
All right, okay. And in a completely remote setup, do you have like time hours that people clock in, or they work? You guys got set times, so people work anytime, anywhere, other than of course the stand-ups and stuff like that.
Yeah. Yeah, no, the second option you gave. We are really flexible here at Bitwave on the hours people work. So long as you're getting your work done and performing to expectation, we have folks who work a wide range of hours. So we like to be really, really flexible.
Right. Okay. No, this it's very interesting how different companies have sort of evolved. Some completely remote, some totally in, and some sort of hybrid. And it's a cultural or a mindset shift to move from one to the to the other. As a as a second time founder, my first company was completely in at office based, and when I founded Arna, we were a little bit more remote and hybrid. And I have a small team in Singapore, but I have the lab, Arna Lab, which is back in India. I like everybody to be in the lab, so most of the team sort of works together in the lab, but some are remote, and this sort of hybrid works very well. But I also feel that at the stage of the company, so I think early on it is absolutely essential for everybody to be across the table and get things going. But then once you're up and running to a certain stage, then a completely remote culture or workflow can work. But yeah, this is also fluid, and it also depends on founders mindsets and how they want to do as such. But I find it amazing how several sort of young founders nowadays completely start remote, and in many cases, I guess more cases it doesn't work, but the ones that work, there are a lot of lessons there.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, my previous company was in person. We were full time in person, everyone.
Do you think you could have, if you had to start completely remote, you guys would have been able to do that?
Yeah, I do. And if I were to start another company again one day in the future, I would probably do it again as a remote company. I personally am like the person that I described. I really thrive working from home.
Moving from their distributed working to distributed decentralized organizations, DAOs, DAOs, DeFi governance, on-chain decision making, all these are some very distributed ways for the entire governance layer for many crypto projects, companies, especially obviously the DeFi projects. Now, that decision making also goes into the entire treasury management for DAOs, their financial decisions, how those are made, all the transactions that happen from multiple wallets, multi-sigs, hardware, cold hot wallets, and all of that stuff. Is how do you guys help DAOs manage their entire decision making framework, which kind of involves a lot of financial decisions as well, and of course the sort of the subsequent compliance stuff from there.
Yeah. I think DAOs are super, super interesting. Going back to our earlier conversation, I'm not sure that they really saw the adoption that I think some of the initial proponents of them were hoping. I don't see as many new DAOs forming these days. I think it's a tricky governance kind of system.
Mhm.
So maybe you see a lot of DAOs. I don't know. I'd love to hear your perspective on it. We're not seeing too many new DAOs. We certainly have had DAO customers,
Mhm.
so long as someone at the organization was able to sign a contract on behalf of the group. It comes with some compliance challenges, certainly. And so being able to even remit payments as a DAO, often can be a tricky process. We help by providing the information. I mean, any organization, you can't make a good decision if you don't have the data and an accurate picture of all your digital asset holdings. So at Bitwave, we like to call it wallet hygiene. And it's actually just a concept of how you keep track of all the various different wallets and places where your digital assets are. That can be really tricky at any organization. It certainly can be tricky at a DAO. So it's a system that really just is a nice view for all the places where you have your digital assets to give you that complete snapshot of what your holdings are, because you as the DAO member can't make a decision if you don't have the information. And so being able to produce reports on a full complete view of your entire digital asset portfolio, holdings, wallets is really, really important.
Right. No, I agree with you. I think the let's say, let's not the vision, the dreams that DAOs were started with. and where they are kind of what they're evolving into in a more mature form are obviously different. And there's probably a need for, and that's how DAOs have evolved as well, I think, into a more hybrid structure where there is certain decision making which is completely decentralized and through voting mechanisms on chain. But then there are other core decisions which are governed by a sort of a council within the DAO, and there are people who are responsible. I think that, again, you need a layered, slightly layered, not completely flat and decentralized, but a slightly layered hierarchy structure within DAOs without creating any real centralized entities,
Mm.
at one end.
Do you see a lot of new DAOs? Are there any that you're a part of?
So in that sense, see, several of the all the DeFi protocols which have a clear vision to be progressively decentralized, even like at Arna, we do not have a DAO structure right now, but there is a clear plan for how the decentralized governance will evolve into a DAO. And again, it's exactly the thought that I've been sort of nurturing for some time, and now putting in places this sort of a hybrid architecture in the DAO, where there are multiple levels of contributors, and there is a core council. In our case, we're going to be calling them the Arnasiers, which is sort of a council which kind of becomes responsible for setting the governance framework and stuff. So yes, the I mean, uh, I'm seeing things evolving in that space, and some of that has, and these sort of structures, they need to be very transparent upfront. As long as it's very clear in the DAOs, in the structure itself, that this is how the decision making is done. This is how, say, let's say, financial decisions will be taken. This is what how things will be managed. Then it is clear. What's happening is people have created DAO structures, and there is a certain decision making framework there which probably not everybody realized. Then it creates the sort of an impression that yes, it's not really decentralized. Whereas, so that communication and transparency upfront about the structures and governance framework is important.
Yeah, I agree.
Do you guys, will you always remain in the form of a corporate structure, or do you at some time think that Bitwave could become more of a decentralized structure as well?
Yeah, no, we're an enterprise SaaS software company. We are very much interacting with Web3 and the blockchain and crypto, but we are a SaaS startup. We are an enterprise SaaS company. So I think we'll probably always keep that corporate structure.
All right. Okay. And what's been one of the most remarkable sort of achievements or milestones, and something that's happened at when you guys started, or in the more recent times, something phenomenal that we should be celebrating today on Alpha and Hash?
Yeah. Well, I mentioned our payments network. We launched that really recently back at ETH Denver. We were out in Denver. We hosted the On-Chain B2B Payments Day side event during ETH Denver in February. And it was kind of the kickoff of our vendor network. So that whole system within Bitwave, we always had our accounts payable, accounts receivable kind of initial module, but really enabling it to be a vendor network like a bill.com where people can themselves, the vendor, include the maybe wallet address, do a penny test, things like that, in Bitwave. So this kind of network approach, we launched that. We've seen great interest and adoption of that piece of it. So now the only option is not to import invoices. You can interact with your counterparty directly. So that was a big accomplishment. We're super jazzed at the payment volume that we've seen, kind of that we've helped enable and manage through Bitwave. So really the additions and enhancements that we've added to our accounts payable, accounts receivable payment network in Bitwave. Really, really exciting stuff. It's a big focus for us here at Bitwave. I'm super happy with the progress and the partners we've been able to add to the network and getting our customers onboarded to it. It's been great. It's been fantastic. And like I said, we officially announced that and launched it at B2B On-Chain Payments Day during December,
Mhm.
which was only back end of February. So recent and exciting news on that here at Bitwave.
All right, that's awesome. So let's toast to that, to the payments
All right.
network, and and to the payments network enabling a lot more wider adoption of crypto digital assets within non-native business ecosystems.
I hope so. I will definitely cheers to that.
All right. Cheers.
Cheers.